Hello and welcome back to the latest video. So today we're looking at the market. Today is the 7th of January. It's a couple of days after New Year's. We had a pretty interesting trade going into New Year's. We had basically selling pressure from tax loss harvesting, which was about 4% on gold. As you can see, on Bitcoin it was quite heavy. There it is. Yeah. So we had basically distribution during the entire December month, right? And then what happened is we basically got an immediate TWAP almost at the start of January 2026, basically. And since then we're up about 5%. We've reclaimed the 90k area. We're still not at the yearly basically open. I think the yearly open was, what was it? March, February, January. Yeah, the yearly open was around here, like 92k if I remember correctly. Anyway, the weekly looks pretty good, honestly. Like if you, all things considered, like now we've had this period of chop where we've basically come down from 127k, right, or 126. We've drawn down 30%, and basically, like, I've never seen a more bearish timeline, more bearish people talking about crypto. Like it's as if everything has broken loose. Like, of course, that notably comes on the backdrop of 1010 that you can see here. And basically a lot of these alts where people are positioning got sold off quite hard. For example, if you take XPL, this was 1010, and then after 1010 it still managed to go down basically 80%, or 70% in this case, which is like insane. And now you have basically all these coins that were dead and that are now since the new year starting to find a bid. Most of this is of course Fugazi. It's all pretty fake, so I would not overextend a stay in these shitty altcoins for a very long period of time, especially now, considering the fact that it basically rebounded 60%. Something also interesting to note is that a lot of these DATs altcoins have gotten a pretty serious bid into New Year's. So yeah, 40% on like a couple of billions. So like, you know, very meaningful. Not as meaningful as the not as meaningful as the XPL bid, but still quite meaningful, right? And so yeah, it's made for quite an interesting environment. On this backdrop, we've had gold basically chugging, like since October we're up like crazy, right? So yeah, 1010 this week, gold is up basically 12%. I mean, that's massive. It's quite, very tradable as well. Like you get these spikes, you can trade them. That's pretty nice. Now it looks like gold is looking to go higher. Silver as well has had an insane run, up 100% in 6 months. In the last month, it's kind of gone crazy. And a lot of this risk has been distributed back. So we were in the 80s, we corrected down to the 70s, as you can see, right before New Year's, and then it went up again. This is on the backdrop of basically a lot of these, like silver. It's basically like, okay, now we have this AI trade going on, and all of these AI GPUs or even ASICs need components that are conductive in energy, and so people use gold. But then if gold goes too high, well, people use silver, and so now we've had basically this kind of bid, this structural bid, and then we've also had a lot of narrative around solar panels, and solar panels need a lot of silver to be built. And so if you think about, okay, like there's actually been a couple of studies on how can we basically produce all the power that NVIDIA needs, and a lot of it is around solar. And so that's why there's been a massive structural bid on silver, and a lot of people have found it, I mean, I've read some people who had theses since the beginning of the year, And yeah, I mean, if you position at the beginning of the year, you're up, yeah, 2x on a lot of size. So that's always interesting. Palladium and platinum have been going crazy. If you actually see all the metals have kind of, reached this part where like now they're kind of feeling toppish. Like they've all like printed insane amounts of returns over the past month. Like as you can see, 40%, 12% palladium. Like this is kind of getting to the crazy part now. And so I believe structurally all these have kind of topped. I would include gold as well, but all these super risky metals have now kind of topped, and the asymmetry and the trades in them is kind of gone. Like now, sure, there's going to be a structural bid on silver, but this is not going to translate into buying silver above 150 bucks, or maybe maybe another 30% from here, which would be like above 100 bucks. So I believe the capital is kind of pressing in that this is close to the top, or like this is where distribution will happen eventually, because like all these metals are up basically 100% on a year, more even. Yeah, up 150. I mean, everything's basically up 100%, like almost. Like that's nuts. In the metal space, that's nuts. You have to think about like how much capital is sitting in gold and just waiting, right? So it's not an attractive place to bid anything here. You're kind of waiting for a pullback on these like crazy deviations that you're seeing here. And so, okay, where will this capital go? And I mean, a lot of the case that I'm making now is this capital is probably flowing into Bitcoin eventually. And so, yeah, Bitcoin has had this kind of small bounce over the last couple of days, only 5%, so it's nothing massive. We still have a lot of churn to do if we want to get sustainably above 94. I do believe now that we basically had I think it was yesterday evening, MSCI announced that they would not exclude MSTR out of the index, and MSCI is basically worth 3 billion. So there was about 3 billion worth of potential outflows that could have hit Bitcoin, or rather MSTR, but this directly impacts Bitcoin. And so largely this was priced, and so now we're basically in this range where I think we're probably going to retest the 90k level zone and going above ultimately after, right? Like we're probably looking at something that goes like this, and then I think we clear 100k. So now is clearly, in my opinion, the time to lock in and just to stay focused. You want to keep your eye on the price. I think you get a pretty clear invalidation if we retrade in the 88 zone, right? Then you could probably assume we're going a bit lower, or even if we lose 90, probably you can assume we go 90, 85. But then again, you're getting into this value zone, and there's a pretty heavy demand zone in the 75s, as this was basically last year's low. So yeah, we're now in a very interesting place. I think minor selling has been kind of done. Tether is done as well, like buying or like have been buying. So a lot of this is basically churn, and I saw a pretty interesting stat the other day. Let me see if I can find it again. So where was it? Yeah, I should have been prepared for this, but whatever. How much did he fucking tweet? Jesus. Oh, here. 9 billion BTC moved in the last 12 months, largest churn over 12-month period in its history. So what does it mean? This means that basically a lot of people have been distributing, and I know like I've been talking to a bunch of Bitcoin OGs, and like 100k was like this level where it's like, okay, well now we've hit 100k. It's a lot. It's a lot. Like a lot of these people were done distributing, or have been distributing above 100k, and so now they've basically sold the amount that they wanted to sell. And now we're probably moving into 2026, which is going to be a much smaller uh, period volatility wise. So yeah, as I mentioned, I was mentioning, I probably think 2026 is going to be lower volatility, and just simply, more flows coming into this asset class now that it's basically matured. There's been a lot of ETF news. Um, we've had a lot of news also around, um, like Morgan Stanley, yeah, filing for the latest ETF. So, in my opinion, you're seeing metals top, or like close to top, right? You're seeing space stocks absolutely ripping. So generally, the market is quite hot now. So what happens when the market is quite hot? Capital is kind of flowing and going to, like, the things that are kind of moving up. So it's kind of chasing, and so now we're in a stalemate on Bitcoin. Um, and I believe now this fuels basically the next rally to probably 130k or something, and then you probably want to reassess, or maybe let's just clear the 100k first, 100k mark, and then we can see. This is probably the largest resistance level um, that we have so far, the 100k level. Um, yeah. Otherwise, in Old Town, one is happening. So we've had light TGE. Um, and the pre-market launched pretty high. It launched at 3, and then it squeezed on Hyperliquid. It squeezed to 4.5 or something. I even think it went to 4.8 or something. So basically, pre-market went down right at launch 60%, almost. Like from the highs to the launch, it went down 60%. Then we've had a pretty heavy consolidation period. Um, and what's interesting is, yeah, Justin Sun has been buying a lot. Like, he basically bought 40 million worth of lit at 2.5 ish. We've had Techno adding, so we've had a lot of structural heavy buyers, and now we're moving into, like, then we had a breakout basically, right? And now we're kind of consolidating above this, or around this $3 level. Which is interesting. I mean, it's a very heavy level. We went to 3.3, but basically, um, I don't believe this has topped. I don't believe it has nearly topped. I think light is going to be one of the key surprises for a lot of people this year. I think there's a lot of basically base expectation that Hyperliquid maintains their dominance on the perp space. But if you actually look at Hyperliquid, I mean, now it's trading a $26 billion FTV, like $26 billion. Yeah, sure. One could argue, like, yeah, the chart is looking okay. I mean, it started here, right? So, yeah, it started here. So, like, it's up a gazillion percent from launch, and it still has managed to keep a lot of the volume onto its platform. OI is still sitting around the high sixes, I believe, and like some of the largest whales that we know of that have been trading on Perptex is all trading on Hyperliquid so far. So it is quite interesting, but I think a lot of this capital that is still in pricing Hyperliquid, like actively sitting in Hype, is basically not factoring in that now this entire vertical is getting a lot of attention. We've had a lot of DEXs, notably extended, variational, a lot of these just basically trying to compete with Hyperliquid, right? And for a reason, because Hyperliquid is making so much money, they're valued so high, makes a lot of sense that now a lot of eyeballs are going to be on Hyperliquid and trying to dethrone them, right? And so far, the only other token that you can trade basically against Hyperliquid is Lit. Yeah, as I mentioned, and Lighter has been a very interesting one. It's only sitting at a 2.8b valuation, but we did some analysis on the token, and actually the real market cap of this. So the real market cap right now should be around 800 mil, but like the false one, the one that is displayed basically by airdrop, which was 25% times FTP, times so about 3 billion. Um, but the interesting thing is the team basically self-farmed a lot, and a lot of the capital in Lit is being held by aligned wallets. And, and what this means is basically the actual circulating supply of this thing is more like 10% instead of 25%. So it's like an offset of 15%, 15 points, and this is really really significant because instead of it being valued at 800 million, it's basically valued at 300 million now. So this should generally, be quite supportive to the price, and then you also have the fact that Robinhood is very close to the lighter team. Both Vlads are actually very close, and yeah, so this should make for some nice price appreciation, I believe, in the next couple of weeks. Also, Lit is still only tradable. Hello, Lit is still only tradable on 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 Lighter itself, but it's gonna get spot listings on Robinhood, on Coinbase, and it should just basically get a lot of the supply out of the market. I think when I was mapping other coins on Robinhood, there's about structurally there's about 100 million worth at any given time. A Robinhood listing basically brings in 100 million worth of stale capital. So this is another 100 million that is being locked. So if you think about it, the circulating supply is actually now 350 mil, but on average, the average holdings of Robinhood for any given coin is basically 70 mil. So if you index this a bit higher, because Robinhood is going to be pushing Lighter more than any other coin they've pushed, it means that there's a lot of supply that's being locked, right? So I think this is something that a lot of people are not looking at. And the other thing is, Lighter is basically sitting on top of Ethereum, and now they're gonna allow a lot more spot listings, and this just makes spot listings and composability just makes for a paradise for whales. Like, I've been talking to a lot of whales, and this is something like just having a de facto exchange where you can trade on and where you can just basically be, which is not on an L2, which is not weird in any way. Is very, very important. So yeah, this is I think one of the coins that I believe should re-rate, and it would, I think if I were to draw it, I should probably not draw it because most of my drawings are never quite accurate. But if I were to draw it, it would probably look something like this. I mean, we would range and then eventually would break out, but it's like going to be a slow one, But I do believe this has a lot of upside left. I think realistically it probably has, or like when I'm getting out. So I bought around 2 points, around here, 2.56, yeah. So not the best entry, but not the worst as well. And I would assume that from here it still has about going to 5, so like a 70% upside move left. I think that would make a lot of sense, and that wouldn't even be ridiculous in terms of comps to Hyperliquid. So yeah, for now, just sitting on everything, just being quite neutral on the market, and yeah, I think everything's going to be quite interesting. So now it's just a waiting game and seeing where we move. Of course, a lot of this could be invalidated if Bitcoin breaks key levels. I think, yeah, we mentioned 90K, but it's also, a lot of things can happen, so we'll see. But yeah, it should be quite interesting. So we'll see, and I will catch you into the next week probably. So yeah.